in order to actualize our full potential, our human potential, we need to be cognizant of these two elements of ourselves, our two aspects of our identity. We have the ego self identity, which is the place of that head knowing that we talked about. It is comprised of the intellect, the thoughts, the emotions. The head knowing, the intellect, is a very important component of who we are. But we run into a problem when we solely identify ourselves with this ego self, this ego identity. The ego identity is also known for fluctuations, great fluctuations, in the roles we play. Our thoughts, our emotions are in constant flux and change. And when we rest our identity solely on the ego self, that's when we come into shaky ground. One moment identify as a rich man, the next day I could be a poor man. One day I'm happily married, the next day I could be divorced. And we start to see that as these roles and thoughts and emotions fluctuate, it leaves us very reactive. The other component of our identity, which is our divine self, changeless self. And this is the field of the heart knowing. This is where we go for wisdom, discernment. This is where we access love and compassion. When we learn to work with a balanced ego self, work to get behind and gain some balance with these fluctuating thoughts and emotions, we learn to keep those or put those in a more balanced framework for our lives. At the same time, we gain range of motion in making better decisions, more wise decisions. It is an intuitive feeling. It is intuitive meaning that knowing from within. The intellect uses the senses to get data, and it manipulates and works with that data that comes through the senses. The heart knowing of the self, the divine self, is working from another field. Think of a time when you needed to make a decision, an important decision, and the intellect collected its data. You collected your data, you assessed the facts, and you went to make a decision. And everyone was saying to you, and the facts seemed to show that you should make decision A. The intellect is saying decision A, but there is a deep-seated intuitive sensation that is just not the direction you need to take. And if you listen to the head and ignored that intuitive feeling, how has it played out in your life? When I've listened to the heart consistently, when I've gotten better and better at that, the results have played out consistently. The intellect doesn't have the perspective. The intellect can't predict the future. So we can't manipulate the future. We do the best we can. We make the best decision we can in the moment. And the heart very often is the place that has the answer for us because it has that perspective. It sees beyond what my intellect can see. It acts in a field that is not better or worse. It's another way of knowing. And it has a perspective to determine for me what's going to be right action. It's a skill in action. How am I going to make better decisions, more balanced decisions, ones that are not being totally out of chronic fear, anger, resentment, greed? Can I look at this a little more objectively? What would be a more balanced action? That's taking the divine self perspective. At any place, any category in our lives that we have better access to decision-making, day-to-day decision-making, more balanced decision-making, that is going to improve our lives.